Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I am so glad we're spending this time here today. We have a very informative show coming right up, and it's on a really difficult topic: how to identify child sex trafficking and prevent it. So our guest today is Dr. John DeGarmo, and he has been a foster parent and foster parent advocate for many years. He regularly writes for many magazines and is a contributor for the Huffington Post and several other publications and newsletters. Dr. DeGarmo and his wife are the recipients of the Good Morning America Ultimate Hero Award and the Up with People Everyday Hero Award. Dr. DeGarmo has spoken on many topics on how to meet the needs of children in foster care, as well as host webinars on sexual predators, sexting, the power of prayer, marriage in foster care, grief and loss, and he's the author of the book Faith and Foster Care, among many other publications on this topic. So let's welcome to the show Dr. John.
Thank you for having me.
It is such a pleasure to have you back on the show. I mean, you are the go-to person when people are looking for information in regards to foster care and of course, this topic with child sex trafficking.
Well, sadly, the two are connected. You know, most people don't realize it, but there's a strong connection to it.
Well, and, you know, we were kind of just talking a little bit ago. I mean, I have absolutely no idea how these two are connected. So why don't you share with us, first of all, a little bit about you, and then let's dive into this topic.
Sure. Thanks for asking. So a little bit about me. I've been a foster parent for 15 years now. I've had over 50 kids come to my home between the ages of 27 hours of age to 18 years of age. Mm-hmm. I've written extensively on foster care and adoption and child sex trafficking, and it's something that drives me every day to bring awareness to it and to help children in need. You know, right now America is in foster care crisis. There's not enough homes, yet there are more children being placed into foster care systems, due mainly to the opiate crisis. And so there's no place for these children to go, and that's why so many of them end up victims of child sex trafficking.
Well, and I know you were on the show not long ago in regards to your book, Faith and Foster Care, and it was so enlightening. There was so much that I learned in regards to the foster care system, and then what we as a community can do to help support the children that are going through this.
Right, absolutely right. You know, we touched on that last time. Not everybody can be a foster parent. I understand that. But everybody can help in some way. And not only are you helping the children find stable homes, you're also helping them, you're protecting them from the dangers out there of child sex trafficking. You know, I've actually started a national campaign, a nationwide campaign called Foster 10,000, Foster 10K. And that is to recruit 10,000 new foster parents by the year 2020 to help with this challenge. But I live an hour south of Atlanta, Georgia, and what most people don't realize is Atlanta is the major city, the number one city for child sex trafficking in America, although it does happen all across the U.S.
Wow, I had no idea about that. So how is the sex trafficking and foster care, how is that combined or unfortunately entangled?
Sure. So when a child comes into foster care, a child needs three things. Namely, they need stability, they need security, but what they need more than anything else is for someone to love them unconditionally, because that's what they crave. Every child wants to be loved. Every child needs to be loved. And every child seeks it out. So in some fashion. So for many of these kids who come into foster care, they are seeking that one thing, for someone to accept them, someone to love them. So many times, they go online to social media or online technology, and they look for love. They look for someone to accept them and to show them positive comments and just ultimately show them love. So these children get lured in by false promises, by false hopes, by deception into these the weave of child sex trafficking. Child predators realize and understand that children in foster care are very, very vulnerable, and in particular, they just want to believe that someone likes them, or more importantly, someone loves them. So these children fall prey to the deceptions and the lies that child sex predators do online. Also, kids in foster care also run away. They also run away because no child wants to be labeled a foster child. It's an ugly label. There's so many misconceptions to it, and it's a bad label. So these kids run away many times. We're just reading right now in the state of Kansas that over 70 children in that state in the foster care system are missing. They can't seem to locate these children. The position is that many of them have run away and have fallen victim to child sex trafficking. And what your audience may not understand is this. Child sex trafficking is another form of human trafficking. It is where children, and maybe as kids as young as 8 or 9 years of age, are being prostituted out for sex 8, 10, 12 times a day, 7 times a week.
Oh, my goodness. It's just horrifying to even think not only the statistics of children that are missing from the foster care system, but, children as young as that are being, introduced to this, and it's just awful.
Well, 2 of the 3 girls that I have adopted from foster care are third-generation foster care, which means their parents and their grandparents were also in foster care. The biological mother of 2 of my girls was a prostitute, being prostituted out by her own biological father by the age of 9. The age of 9.
Oh, my goodness. That's hard to hear. So when, as a foster parent, when these children come to you and they've gone through such trauma, It's got to be really difficult.
Sure. So many of these children have what's called a reactive attachment disorder. They have been abused or traumatized so many times at such a young age that they do not know how to form a healthy relationship or a healthy attachment with anybody. So the only way these children know to express any type of loving emotion is sadly through sex. We recently had a 4-year-old girl in our home. 4-year-old girl who had been raped repeatedly by her grandfather over and over and over again. So you can imagine that this young girl will most likely be very, very sexually active at a very, very early age because this is what she was introduced to. We've had so many kids fall in that pattern. Another thing that your audience may not understand is this. Every week, there are 10,000 new images of child pornography posted online across the world. 10,000 new images of child pornography posted online over the world. There are over 10,000 websites across the globe that offer child pornography. And your audience may say, no, it's illegal. Sure, it's illegal. But there's also the dark web in America. And then, of course, in many countries, child pornography is not illegal.
Well, and I know you just wrote an article for the Good Men Project that was titled How Child Sex Trafficking is Big Money in America. And I was just floored by how many children worldwide are being trafficked.
Yeah. Worldwide, it is the number... child sex trafficking is the number 2 largest business worldwide online.
Wow.
Can you imagine? And so, do you know when the biggest week of child sex trafficking in the United States is? The week of the Super Bowl. So wherever the Super Bowl is located each year, that is the biggest week and the biggest location of child sex trafficking in America for that year. Because you have predators and prostitutes from all across the globe descending upon the location of the Super Bowl because they know that there are people there willing to engage in this activity.
Now, so as just a general citizen, what are some things that we should look for?
Oh goodness, there's a lot of things. Children who are trafficked, they many times they will not look you in the eye. They have a hard time with relationships or attachments. Many times these children are runaways. People often ask me, how can you stop child sex trafficking? And I tell them, well, many times it happens around bus stops and truck stops. Truck stops and bus stops. Truck stops because of the truckers, and bus stops because people can come and go and the predators are there waiting for them. So you need to, our community members need to bring awareness to that. They need to bring awareness to their own cities in that regard. Again, many times these kids are runaways, so when you're seeing children on the streets who are young, in major cities or even minor cities, who are just standing in street corners day after day, that should be a warning sign right there. There's a number of ways that we can help, but, the first and foremost thing is to become aware and accept that this is happening in America. Last year, roughly 300,000 children were victims of child sex trafficking here in supposedly the greatest nation on earth, where kids are having sex again 10, 12 times a day. And predators, they are now going towards, and gangs as well, are now going towards child sex trafficking because it is much easier money. They don't have to, if you're selling drugs, you've got to buy the drugs and then resell it. But when you're prostituting a child out, you can just continue to use that child over and over and over again without having to sink any money into it whatsoever.
So when there are children on the street and police are driving by, is this something that we call in and say, hey, there's a child there, so the police are aware and they can go and pick up that child? How does that work with our law enforcement?
Well, our law enforcement across the nation are really working hard on this. So I am very encouraged about what our law enforcement is doing. I believe it was 2 years ago where the law enforcement, our police officers, rescued 160 children at the Super Bowl location who were victims of child sex trafficking. I'm going to say that number again. They rescued 160 children at the Super Bowl location who were victims of child sex trafficking. That
is just astounding. I just can't even believe that number.
It is astounding, and most of our society does not understand that or acknowledge it. We don't want to talk about that. Not the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl, of course, is a national holiday in America. We celebrate it as seeing something magnificent, but there's a very, very dark side to it, and we don't want to talk about child sex trafficking, certainly not in relationship with the Super Bowl, because it's a very, very ugly truth that we don't want to acknowledge. It's not a pretty thing, and it's very difficult to understand this, accept it. So many times we just ignore it. We just pretend it does not exist. We brush it under the carpet, and we turn our eyes away from the truth.
So what are some ways that either individuals or communities can kind of help rescue some of these children or be involved? What's something that we can do?
Well, again, we need to bring awareness. You can become an advocate. You can write to your politicians. You can write letters to the editor. You can call in the radio stations. Once you become aware, once you've gotten all that information about what child sex trafficking is, then you need to stand up and say, it's not going to happen in my city. It's not going to happen where I live. I am going to fight this. I believe awareness equals advocacy. We have to be advocates to this because it could be happening to our own children, our own grandchildren, our nieces and nephews. It could be happening to the children down the street, kids at work, in the church. It's all around us. So we need to gather as much information and knowledge as we can, and then we need to make a determined effort to say, enough, not where I live. And then you start working with the police, you start working with homeless shelters, you start working with foster care agencies. You try to prevent these children from, I said earlier, many of these kids will run away from the foster care system or from their group homes they may be living in, the residential homes they may be living in, because of those false promises that are out there. How do you stop it before that? You need to try to stop it beforehand. It's just not kids in foster care who are becoming victims of child sex trafficking. No, not in the least. So what parents are, today's society, parents want to be their child's friend. And I'm not my child's friend. I am my child's parent. I protect my child. So there's a few things I'm going to do to protect my child. And some people say I'm going to invade my child's privacy. And I say that's absolute rubbish. I am protecting my child. So as a parent, whether it's my own biological or adoptive kids or my foster kids, doesn't matter. Any child that lives in my house, I will be checking their online technology devices, their phones, their tablets, their computers, whatever it may be, on a consistent basis to make sure that they're not. I want to see what they're playing. I want to see who they're talking to, who they're chatting with. I want to see what videos they're posting and what videos they're watching. Many of your audience may know what sexting is. I'm sure you're familiar with sexting is. Sexting is the act of sending a naked or sexually suggestive picture from one person to another. That's where predators are luring these children in. There's the old saying, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. You know that saying, right?
Yeah.
Well, I take it a step further. What goes online stays online forever. What goes online stays online forever. So when our children are posting naked pictures of themselves, which they do commonly, sexting is very much today's form of flirting, predators will find those pictures and use those pictures to blackmail children, to lure them in, and that's how many times how predators will reach out to those kids. They'll find those kids, they'll find the pictures of those kids online, and then contact those children and say, if you don't do what I do, what I tell you to do, I'm going to contact your parents. I'm going to share this with your school or whatever it may be. They blackmail those kids. So as a parent, I'm going to be looking at my children's contacts, their phones. We have a rule in our house that they cannot they cannot be a friend to anybody that they don't know and I don't know. There are certain sites they can and cannot go to, and if they choose not to follow those rules, they use the ability to use that device. The first thing that goes in our house is the phone. If you're in trouble, we're taking your phone away for a while. And the child, again, I'm not their friend. I am their parent. That's where predators are reaching out to our children, mostly through online devices. There are some game chat rooms that predators hang out in and develop relationships with kids. That's what predators do. They develop relationships with these children, and then they start feeding them with false lies and false promises. And many times, these predators are using false names and false alibis and false ages. It could be a 17-year-old girl may say, there's this 18-year-old boy who likes me, but who knows, it could be a 45-year-old man behind a computer. We can't tell. So it's so important that parents monitor your children's online devices. I think that's first and foremost what needs to happen. As well, of course, of having a very honest, open, trustworthy, trusting relationship with your child. If you're gonna let your child sit in front of the computer all day long or in front of the phone all day long, if that's your parenting, well then you're gonna lose your child. You're going to lose your child. There's no way around that. You have to develop a healthy. I'm sorry.
No, and I've heard some parents say, "Well, I trust my kid, so I know they're not going to do anything." It's like, well, you might, but what about the 45-year-old man that's acting like a 17-year-old kid online?
Right. Or how about the 7-year-old girl that I wrote about in my book, Keeping Foster Children Safe Online? The 7-year-old girl in foster care was working on a math project. She's doing a little bit of math online, an online game, in the foster mother's bedroom, and the foster mother was in the hallway folding laundry, and the foster mother heard the Skype noise go off. So she walked into the bedroom, and there was her foster daughter with her shirt off, and she asked her foster daughter, "Why do you have your shirt off?" And the 7-year-old girl pointed to the computer and said, "Because that man told me to." A stranger had reached out to this girl via Skype and asked this girl to take her shirt off. And this girl, who had known only sexual abuse all her life, thought, well, this is normal. And she did. That's how
she didn't know any better. Yeah.
Right. She didn't know any better. And our kids today don't know any better. They don't know that if they should send a sexually suggestive message from one person to another, a naked picture, under the age of 18 years of age, if a boy who is... I write about another time in my book where a 16-year-old boy received a naked picture of his girlfriend. And he sent that to another person. He now became a registered sexual predator. And we know that lasts for life.
Yeah.
Our children don't know that. They don't know those rules because these are new rules coming on. This is a whole new world. Online technology has opened up a whole new world of dangers for children and dangers for parents. So when parents say, I trust my child, okay, well, you may trust your child, but who is reaching out to your child? Who is sending messages to your child? Do you know who your child is speaking with online?
Yeah. I mean, it's really, you just have to watch all those things because otherwise, you just don't know. You don't know who they're chatting with.
You don't. You're absolutely right. You don't know. There are games out there. Very, very vivid images. Very, very graphic details that teach children. These are games now, online games, that teach the user, usually the child, how to have sex with animals. There are games out there.
What?
Yep. There are games out there. There are games out there where the user, the player, gets more points by breaking into homes and raping women and children. Those are online games that our children have access to. So a parent may say, well, not my child. My child's not playing that. My child doesn't have a phone. My child doesn't have a computer. Well, my response is this. Your child goes to school. He's open to a whole world. He just sits next to his friend in the cafeteria. That friend pulls out a phone. You don't know what your child's looking at. It's so difficult to monitor. That's why you've got to have that healthy relationship with your child. So when you don't have a healthy relationship with the child, and the child is spending time online all the time, and these child predators do lure them in with false promises. Hey, you're beautiful. You're such a pretty girl. Why don't you come and be a model? Have you thought about being a model? Or I'm looking for a nanny. Or your foster parents, they really don't love you. Or I'm an 18-year-old boy. I love you. Will you come spend some time with me? Those children fall prey to that so easy, and then they become victims of child sex trafficking.
Yeah, and so it's, as a parent, I mean, you have to take a lot of, you have to think about, kind of get ahead of this whole sex trafficking game, and really kind of be prepared to kind of unravel what it is that they're coming in contact with, and how you can just have that close relationship with them, so when something does come up, they're like, hey, Bob at school showed me, this on his phone, and you can have a discussion with them about it as far as what's going on, so you guys can work through that.
Absolutely, 100%. My wife and I sit down with our children every day at the dinner table, which is a rarity today. And we ask our children, what was the best part of your day? What was the worst part of your day? And that opens up conversation to a whole bunch of things, and we try to do that consistently every evening around the dinner table. So many parents today instead their kids are eating dinner. They're not eating as families, and they're eating meals in front of a computer or a TV screen or in front of a phone, whatever it may be. The family unit is dissolving quickly, and part of the problem is because of online technology. So when these kids do not have stable, healthy relationships with parents, they're seeking them out elsewhere. And that's where the predator comes in. Kids just run away from home because of false promises. There's no hope at home. There's no loving relationship at home. So they run away to somebody who says, well, I love you. And they believe it.
Now, as far as rescuing children that have been on the streets, and then they end up back in the foster care system, what does that look like?
It looks like this. So many times the cycle will repeat itself over and over again. The children, if they become a victim of child sex trafficking, for one thing, it's very, very hard to break. I've interviewed several survivors from child sex trafficking, and they all tell me that they run it for a long time, and it was very hard to break away from that. Even when they leave the predator, even when they're rescued, emotionally and mentally, they are still captive. So there's a great deal of professional therapy, professional counseling that needs to be given to that child to begin with. That's not something a parent can fix. It's just not something a parent can fix.
It really is kind of a long-term plan for them as far as getting their mental health back to a place where they're feeling, confident about themselves enough where they're not looking for that outside acceptance. Right.
And you nail it right in the head there. If a child's not receiving it at home, they're going to be looking for it outside, and that is parental love. They want to be loved. So many people believe that when a child from foster care comes to my house, they want to be here, and everything's happy, everything's rosy. That's far from the case. The children who come to my house so many times don't want to be in my house. I can offer them wonderful opportunities, stability, security, a warm house, great nutrition, school, unconditional love, the whole thing. But at the end of the day, I'm not that child's mommy. I'm not that child's daddy. And even if they have suffered horrific crimes by their parents, that child still wants to go back home to mommy or daddy because every child has an ideal image of what a family should be like. They all want that love and acceptance from their mommy and daddy. And if they're not going to get it, they're going to seek it elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, and even if that view is somewhat skewed, a lot of times it takes a lot of therapy to kind of get to a point where they realize maybe that's not the healthiest situation.
Yes, you're right. You're right. But for that little 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old girl, they don't see that. They don't see that.
It's just too far for them to even think about that because they know only what they know.
Right. And then for the teenager, and you and I both know that teenagers know everything, right? Yeah. So for that teenager who knows everything, who's going through that emotional, all those emotions swirling around their body, and they're grappling with independence and becoming an adult and maturity, and they're having all that confusion that reigns during teenage years. When they are online, and there's somebody who's been developing a relationship with them online through false lies and false promises, that child grapples with whether or not to accept the truth, and they want to believe. So when this person says, as I said earlier, hey, I care about you, I love you, that child just wants to believe and runs away. Predators use false lies and false promises to lure their victims in. And those children are the vulnerable ones, and ones in foster care, the ones from broken homes, the ones who have already have had sexual abuse or emotional abuse perpetrated against them.
Yeah, it must be easier for them to fall into that trap then if they've already been through such horrific treatment.
You're right. You're absolutely right. You're right. We had one child that came and lived with us, and she had been she had 9 years of sexual abuse against her. And when she arrived at our house in her late teens, one of the first things she did going in our house was she got online, and I walked downstairs to where the computer was in our lounge room in the basement, and she was looking at pictures of basically naked teenage boys, and I thought, what is going on? And that's when I realized, this is a problem, and that's what led me to reading the book, Keeping Foster Children Safe Online. It is it's so hard to monitor. It is so hard for parents to monitor, but this is the battleground. This is the battleground. This is where it starts.
Yeah. It's part of a parent's responsibility to be involved and to know what different social media platforms are out there and which ones they should be on and which ones they shouldn't. I know that there are like these apps that they can use so they can track their activity. Right.
The unfortunate thing is those things change every day. Kids can, the day and age where, I don't know about you, but for me, when I was a young kid in the 80s, the joke was, the parent can't fix the VCR, give it to the kid can fix it. Well, that's how kids are today, The parent may not be able to... When I have a challenge with my computer, I always ask one of the kids in the house, hey, can you fix this for me? Because they know how to do it. They know how to do it.
Yeah.
And they get over, and they're able to get around firewalls all the time. And new apps are changing all the time because the old ones have, they've been broken. People have been able to go around them. So it changes all the time. And it's hard work for parents. You have to keep up to date. You've got to monitor it. You've got to be consistent. If not, the alternative is a scary one. It's a scary one.
Yeah, I think like most people, we see the news flash that goes across the screen saying how many children, because there was a big bust a while back from the FBI where it was multi-cities.
Yes.
And they saved many children, and so that was all over the news, and it's like, wow, that's still happening? It almost seems somewhat prehistoric,
No, it's just... it's growing. It is growing in America because it's just more accessible. I want to think about this. How about the 16-year-old girl who had known only sexual abuse all of her life, and then she goes to a new school, and she just wants to be accepted. She just wants someone to like her or to love her, and she has this teenage boy who says, "Well, if you send me a naked picture of yourself, I'll go out with you." So So that girl goes into the bathroom stall between classes, closes the door, pulls up her shirt, gets her cell phone, takes a picture of it, and then sends it to the boy, all within 5 seconds. And that picture can go viral, so to speak, by the end of the day, where all the students have it in the school, and it could be posted online, and the predators can get to it. That's how easy it is today for a predator to get a picture of a girl online. That's how easy it is.
Do you find that when foster children are coming into your home that you're having a talk with them early on in regards to, safety online and just things to look for?
Well, I'll tell you this. Children in foster care in my home do not get a cell phone because it is so difficult to monitor, because I don't know if their birth parents are reaching out to them unsupervised or unmonitored, and that could be very, very dangerous. I don't know who's feeding them false lies. If they do have a cell phone, if they do have one, then my wife and I heavily monitor it. Yes, absolutely, we have that conversation time and time again. I don't believe any child should have a cell phone before the age of 13. Now, I know that there are kids out there, I've seen kids out there in the age of 4 and 5 or 6 using cell phones. No child needs a cell phone by the age of 13. Don't tell me it's a necessity. If it's a necessity, then how did you and I get along without cell phones when we were growing up?
Well, and pretty much in seatbelts, too.
Right.
Well, there was the lap belt, but, not the one that goes across the shoulder. But, you look at all the things and how just life has changed so much, and I guess parents are just, we're just behind the curve on what we need to know in regards to keeping children safe.
Yeah, sure. This isn't the Brady Bunch world anymore. The music isn't the Beatles anymore, the Monkees. It is a whole new world. And when our entertainers are singing about sex all the time, and when we turn on TV and all the commercials are on sex, or when you turn on the TV and you watch TV shows, it's just images of sex. So for those kids who have been sexually abused all of their life, they're just reinforcing this world of sex. And so again, this is how they fall victim, because they envelop themselves in that world. And then there are parents like myself who think, I don't want to expose my children to that at such an early age. So it's careful monitoring. Lots of discussions, sure.
Well, I think especially when you talk about young children having cell phones, they can't even do critical thinking. So why would we expect for them to have a device that may require that?
I couldn't agree more. A child is not mature enough to make the decisions by 10, 11, 12 years of age. And I talked about those games earlier that they have access to. The videos. Gosh, you and I can go on YouTube and find videos all over the place that we do not want our children to watch. There's free pornography all over the internet. Child pornography as well. It's easy to access. So for a child at a young age to have that access to it, it's not for me.
Yeah, for sure. Now, if, let's say, any of the children that are in your household do come across any kind of child pornography, what do you guys do then?
We have long discussions. Many times we've taken the phone, as I said earlier, we may take the phone away. Our children have to sign a contract in our house if they're going to have an online device. If they're going to have access to online technology, they have to sign a contract, and there are 10 points in the contract that they have to abide by. And if they should break those rules, just say, you know what, we love you very much, these are the rules, and you chose to break the rules, and here are the consequences. This is the fact of life. There are consequences to every choice we make, and the consequence is you no longer have this device. I'm pretty strict on that. My wife and I are very, very strict on that. And that helps. Does it curb it all the way? Absolutely not. But it certainly puts, for the younger kids, the fear into them. Oh my goodness. But so if a child should be getting access to online technology, to child pornography, we'll have a discussion with them, and it really depends on the age. You've got to be age appropriate when you have a conversation like that.
Oh yes, I'm sure. I'm
sure. For the young teenage boy in my house who is 16 or 17 years of age, that's a very curious time in his age. So we talk about, respect for women and, honor and dignity and integrity and all those key phrases that they roll their eyes at.
I think we can use more young men that understand that, and young ladies as well, in regards to respecting and honoring one another.
Sure. My wife and I try to model that ourselves in a healthy married relationship. Hopefully all the boys who come through my home, whether it's my own son or the many, many foster sons who come through my home, they have watched me how I treat my wife, what I say to my wife, how I treat my daughters, what I say to my daughters, how do I address them, et cetera, et cetera. Everything I say and everything I do as a husband and as a father to these boys, I'm a constant role model. Parents are constant role models to our children. They're always watching us. So if a parent is spending 4 hours a day on the phone, why can't the child? Or if the parent is watching movies on the phone all the time or playing games, why can't the child? We are role models. If we don't want our kids in front of the computer all day long, then we can't do it as well.
Yeah, there has to be some interaction going on with children so that they know that they're valued and that they're more valuable than the computer or the phone or whatever's going on, because all that stuff usually is just a distraction. Sure.
So when it comes to the child sex trafficking part of it, these children who are coming from broken homes, homes of abuse, when they do run away, I want the audience to recognize this, that it most likely is happening in your city or a city very, very near to you. Again, child sex trafficking is a huge problem in America, and it is very hard to get a grip of, and it is happening more and more. And we as American society, we continue to avert our eyes and continue to ignore the problem because, again, it's an ugly thing. No one wants to believe that this is happening in the United States of America. But it is. It's big, big business.
Well, especially the numbers. 300,000 children on a yearly basis that are being lured into this. It's like, what the heck?
Right. But you know what? It shouldn't come as a surprise to us when we just look at the breakdown of family morals and family values in our nation. When we look at the number of broken homes and broken marriages. When we look at the number of children in foster care, roughly 500,000 kids in foster care. When we look at the levels of domestic abuse that is happening within the family unit. It's no surprise that these children are running away to what they think is a safe environment, and that is a predator who is luring them in with promises of being safe, promises of taking care of this child, promises of loving this child, promises of giving this child lots of opportunities. Yeah,
and especially when they're thinking, gosh, I don't want to be in this foster care system where I have rules and regulations I have to follow.
Right.
So used to being a little bit more of a free spirit, not realizing what the other side of that coin reveals.
Right. Or it doesn't need to be a foster care unit either. It can be just, a young girl from a traditional home who she comes home every day after school and she goes into her bedroom, she tells her parents she's working on homework, and she closes the bedroom door, and then she gets online and she's having a conversation with somebody who's not who he seems, and that 16-year-old girl who is being told by an 18-year-old boy, hey, they've been chatting for a few weeks or a few months online, and finally the boy says, hey, send me make a picture of yourself, or take your shirt off and send me a picture. I won't show anybody else. And she does it because she wants to be accepted, and this is the norm in today's society. And then the predator says, okay, I've got a picture of you now. Now you need to send me another one, and send me another one, and now you need to run. You need to come here to where I live, or I'm going to show your parents these pictures. And she does. It's happening in traditional homes behind closed doors, behind the bedroom.
Yeah. These children are and young adults are just too afraid to talk to their parents and say, hey, this is what's happening, or there's not that communication or relationship there.
Right. Or the parent's too busy. The parent's too busy in their own online device, or too busy at work, or it may be. Sure. Right.
So what are some ways that you would suggest that parents can implement today to start being more involved with their children?
Oh, well, goodness. Family time is so important. Put down the phone. Go play outside. Go do a puzzle. We have at our house, we have at one of our tables in the lounge room, we always have a puzzle going. We sit down and play puzzles. Sunday's game day, we put aside the technology, and after church we play a board game, go for walks, vacations, develop relationships with children, talk to them. But it has to be at a very, very early age. You have to start that relationship, develop that relationship at an early age. You can't turn to your 17-year-old high school senior and say, oh, hey, little Johnny, I've been absent all of your life, but let's talk about sex. No, it's not going to work that way. It has to start at early age. Family traditions, you develop your own family traditions so the children look forward to spending time with the family.
And they can have that discussion at the dinner table where they talk about the great things that happen during the day and the things that aren't so great that you can learn about.
Right, or it goes for a special time. If you have multiple children in your home, what my wife and I try to do is we try to have special time once a month with each child, and that might look like me taking one of my kids out to ice cream, or the ice creamery, or going to the movies, or going to a restaurant, or going shopping, and then we can just have a casual conversation, and that casual conversation can lead to something more, perhaps, something more serious. But again, that relationship has been developed there. So parents have to develop early on a relationship that the child feels comfortable and trusting and loved. Most importantly, they feel loved.
Yeah.
There's the old phrase that men don't cry and men are tough people and you don't tell your child you love them because you're a male. I think it's a hogwash. It's actually hogwash. I think it's important that my kids see me cry when I'm upset, when I'm emotional. If something tragic happens, I'm going to let my children see that it's okay for me to cry, and I'm going to tell each of my kids at least once a day that I love them. At least once a day that I love them. Give them a hug, a kiss. They need that from their father, and they need that from their mother. Because if they're not getting it from mom, they're not getting it from dad, they're going to be getting it from somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Now, are there any other tips you want to leave with our listeners that can help stop child sex trafficking?
Sure. Monitor your child's online devices. Go online and read about the dangers that children face online. You can go to my website and read many articles I've written about child sex trafficking, about how you can stop it in your area, how you can become an advocate. I write about it in a number of articles, give a lot of steps in it, tips. Constantly, just read information. Monitor your child's devices, become aware of who their friends are, and spend time with your child. Spend time with your child and remind them that daddy loves them, but that mommy loves them every day.
And if there is any, let's say they have a friend, your children have a friend, and they suspect that this child could be a victim or is being lured into either online child pornography or sex trafficking, what are some things that you would have as far as a discussion around that? Or at least as an adult, what would you do?
Well, as an adult, if I suspect there's a problem, I'm going to contact somebody about it. Because this is too serious of an issue for me to just say, well, maybe I'm mistaken, maybe I'm wrong. No, I'd rather be wrong and embarrassed than right and ignore the problem or pretend it didn't exist. Or think, maybe it's my imagination. No, as a parent, I am going to contact somebody about it, whether it's the police, whether it's child welfare, whether it's a child's parents or guardians. Yeah, absolutely. So I would ask your audience, if you suspect that your child or a friend of your children is a victim of child sex trafficking or is being sexually abused, then you need to contact somebody immediately. Because if you don't, then who will?
Yeah, I know just with some of the work I do involves that I'm online a lot. And I can't tell you how many times I've reported things to the FBI has a place where you can report any type of activity that's online that's inappropriate with children.
Right. And you can do it anonymously. Sure. Absolutely right. Yeah. There are child sex trafficking sites you can go to, to prevent it, child welfare agencies, FBI. There are all types of programs like that you can report it to.
Yeah. Well, and I want to spend a little bit of time talking about your book that we had you on for last time, Faith in Foster Care. Why don't you share with our listeners a little bit about that? Because I was so intrigued on how you talk about foster care as a ministry. Right. And I think it is just such an enlightening approach, because most people, they're like, well, I want to do something, I want to get involved, but they just don't realize that, being a foster parent is something that they can do. And it's not for everybody, but for those people that it is for, it might be something to look into.
I just shot a video last week that has been so pleasantly surprised at how many views it's gotten. I talked about that very thing. There's a belief out there that I hear it all the time. People say, Dr. John, I couldn't do what you do. I couldn't be a foster parent. It would hurt too much to get the kids back. And I say in that video, and I tell so many people that that's how it's supposed to be. See, the child needs me. The child needs an adult. The child needs you to say, I will love you with everything that I have. So when the child does leave my house, and the child returns to their birth parents or biological family members, or ages out of the foster care system, or goes to another foster home, whatever it may be, when the child leaves my home, it feels like I'm losing my own child, that I suffer from grief, that I cry and I mourn the loss of that child in my life. Yeah, it hurts. It hurts, but it's a good hurt. It's a very, very good hurt, because that child needs me to hurt for them. That child needs me to love them so that when they do leave, I hurt. So I find joy, I find satisfaction, I find comfort in the knowledge that, okay, I'm having a really hard time right now because this foster child of mine who's been with me for a long time has left my home, and I'm crying. I miss that child. And I find comfort in the knowledge that, okay, I gave that child what that child needed. That child needed someone to love them with all they have. So I don't want to hear any more from people that say, I can't do what you do, it hurt too much. You should do it for that reason. You need to allow yourself to hurt because that child wants you to hurt for them. Now, on the other side, you're right, not everybody can be a foster parent, but there are so many things everybody can do to help kids in foster care, as I write in the book, Faith in Foster Care. In fact, I just finished a sequel called The Church in Foster Care, the next mission field. And the entire book talks about how there's a mission field here in the United States, 500,000 children in our own backyards, our own states, our own neighborhoods, these kids who are suffering. So if we can't have them in our own home, there's a number of ways we can help them. We can be a mentor. We can give them birthday presents and Christmas presents and the holidays. We can be a tutor for them. We can buy suitcases for the children when they enter into foster care. We can provide clothes and provide food for foster parents. We can drive them to doctor's visits. We can provide respite care for foster parents. The list goes on and on and on and on. There are so many ways people can help children in foster care without being a foster parent. But before I was a foster parent, I didn't know that. I had no clue. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where this general society is. They don't have any idea because we don't talk about these things.
No. And it seems like a really scary and kind of like, gosh, am I serious enough to be a foster parent? Can I really manage all this? And I think a lot of people don't really understand what that all entails. Of course, you want somebody who's going to be loving and caring and responsible, but at the same time, it's probably not as difficult as most people think, I would guess.
Well, I'll say this.
Am I wrong on that?
It has been the most challenging thing I've done. It has been the most rewarding thing I've done.
There you go.
Yeah, sure. It is there. These kids come to my home who have suffered immense abuse, immense trauma. Sometimes it's just so unthinkable and unspeakable what's been committed against them. And it's hard when they're in my home, sure. Because sometimes they don't want to be there, they lash out, they have issues of trust. But at the end of the day, they need someone to say, you know what, I'm going to love you anyways. I'm going to love you anyways. And every child that's come to my home, 50 plus kids, has made me a better person in some way, a better husband, a better father, a better member of community, a better workmate, a better friend. So I am grateful for every child that's come to my home. I never would have expected doing it. I never planned on doing it, but I'm so grateful I've been able to do it. And I want to share this with us. So that's why I've got this new national campaign, Foster 10,000, to recruit 10,000 new foster parents. Not only will it change the lives of the children, But I can promise you it'll change the lives of the parent as well, the foster parent.
Yeah. I mean, what a rewarding, mission to take. I know a lot of times I've had friends that their families go on missionary trips, to different places around the globe, and a lot of these places are really in need.
Right.
And we look at our own backyard where we've got, you're talking 500,000 children who need help. Right. It's like, my goodness,
You're right. I spent 4 summers in Mexico doing mission work. 3 of my children just came back from a week in Nicaragua. Yeah, those are great experiences. But as you said, there are 500,000 kids in our nation, in our states, in our cities, and sometimes even in our neighborhoods that need someone to care for them. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Well, and Dr. John, so let's say someone wants to, read some of your great articles and learn more. It's not about being a foster parent. It's more about what you have to say and also about your book. Where could they go?
Well, thanks for asking. There's a few places you can go. You can go to Facebook, Dr. John DeGarmo. You can Google me find me on Twitter. You can go to my website, drjohndegarmofostercare.com. You can just Google foster care expert, and I should come up there as well. These issues all tie into foster care. Online safety, child sex trafficking, homelessness, they all tie into the foster care system in some tragic way. So that's why I devoted myself to all these things. Something we did not touch on, very briefly I'll say this. For those kids who age out of the foster care system, when they leave the foster care system, 55% will end up homeless. I'm sorry, will drop out of school. 65% homeless. 75% will end up in jail. Those homeless ones, 55%, they'll fall victims of child sex trafficking as well. So it's all connected in some tragic way.
And I hope the system can look at that. Maybe we need to, do something better for these children, because aging out and then not really having a place to go or what have you, it sounds horrible.
Right. No one, you or I are not going to kick kids out of the house at 18 years of age and say never come back. But that's what happens to these kids. They're on their own, and they don't have their high school diploma. They don't have anybody to call when they're sick, no one to drive them for a job interview, no one to take them to the hospital, no place to go on Christmas or Thanksgiving, no one to sing them happy birthday. Sure, it's very sad. So, of course, they're going to turn to somebody who says, well, I'll take care of you, and that's the predator in the street.
Yeah. Yeah, it begins that vicious cycle.
Yep, absolutely right.
Well, Dr. John, thank you so much for taking the time to share your insights with us today. My goodness, it's been very enlightening. I learned a lot. I'm sure our listeners learned a lot. And I highly suggest everyone pick up your book, Faith in Foster Care. So, thank you for being here with us today.
Oh, hey, thank you for the opportunity. And I just want to encourage your readers your audience, your listeners, to please consider becoming a foster parent. Please consider changing your life. Please consider changing the world. So many people say, I can't make a difference. Yeah, you can. You absolutely can. And it starts with the children in your own town. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. DeGarmo. Again, this has been a very enlightening time. If you'd like to learn more about Dr. John DeGarmo's information, his books, and also just information he has on how to be a foster care parent, you can visit drjohndegarmofostercare.com. His book, Faith in Foster Care, is available at all major retailers and, of course, on Amazon. Well, this is the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to tune in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Thursday, Friday, and Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.